Emma Lawson used to believe that love was simple. You met the right person, you built a life together, and everything slowly settled into place like furniture in a warm home. For years, that belief carried her through marriage with Daniel. Met in college in Chicago, married at 27, and moved to Portland for Daniel's growing career in finance. They bought a house with wide windows and pale blue walls. They adopted a golden retriever named Sunny. They hosted Thanksgiving, dinners, and summer barbecues. From the outside, it looked steady and happy. But steady was not the same as fulfilled. The change did not happen in one dramatic moment. It came quietly, like dust collecting in corners. Daniel began working longer hours. Promotions came, bonuses came, and with them came pressure. He stayed late at the office and answered emails during dinner. Emma tried to understand. She told herself this was temporary. She supported him, smiled for him, packed his lunches, and reminded him to rest. At first, Daniel still made time for her. He would pull her close in the kitchen and kiss her temple. He would tell her she was beautiful even when she wore old sweatpants. But over the years, those small gestures became less frequent. Not because he stopped loving her, but because routine slowly replaced effort. Emma worked at a small interior design firm downtown. Her job was creative and colorful. She spent her days helping people shape their spaces into something personal. She chose fabrics, sketched layouts, picked paint shades that matched the light. She loved her work because it felt alive. When she came home, though, the house felt too quiet. Daniel would be on the couch, laptop open, face lit by a cold screen. He always greeted her kindly. He always asked how her day was. But his eyes often drifted back to numbers and graphs before she finished speaking. One night, told him about a client who cried with joy after seeing her redesigned nursery. Emma laughed as she described the pastel walls and tiny wooden crib. Daniel nodded and said, "That's great, Em." Oh. Then his phone buzzed and he picked it up. Emma smiled, but something inside her sank. She did not want grand romance. Oh, she did not want expensive gifts. She wanted presence. She wanted to feel that her words mattered as much as market reports. The silence between them grew heavier each month. They still shared a bed, still ate dinner together, still watched movies on weekends. But their conversations became safe and short. Weather, groceries, work schedules. No deep questions. No dreams. One rainy evening, Emma stood at the kitchen sink washing dishes. The window reflected her face in the dark glass. She looked tired. Not physically, but emotionally. She pressed her lips together and whispered, "I just need more." She did not mean more love from someone else. She meant more feeling, more depth, more life inside the love she already had. Daniel noticed something was different. Emma laughed less. She spent more time reading alone in the bedroom. Sometimes he would find her staring at nothing, lost in thought. He asked if she was okay, and she always said yes. But he could sense a quiet distance growing, and he did not know how to close it. That was when Ryan called. Ryan was Daniel's younger brother by 3 years. He had been living in Toronto for the past 5 years, working in marketing and building a life with his girlfriend, Claire. Everyone thought they would get married. But one unexpected phone call changed everything. Claire ended the relationship. She said she felt disconnected. She needed something different. Ryan was shocked and hurt. He packed his apartment and decided to come back to the United States for a while. Daniel immediately offered their guest room. "He just needs time," Daniel told Emma one night. "It won't be long." Emma agreed easily. She liked Ryan. He was warm and expressive, always ready to tell a story or ask a thoughtful question. When they visited during holidays, he filled the room with energy. Ryan arrived on a gray afternoon in early October. He stepped out of his car with tired eyes, but a wide smile. Emma hugged him tightly, feeling the tension in his shoulders. "Thank you for letting me stay," he said softly. "Of course," she replied. "Your family, the first few days felt normal." Ryan settled into the guest room. Daniel went to work as usual. Emma kept her routine. But something subtle shifted inside the house. Ryan woke up early and made coffee for everyone. He asked Emma about her design projects and listened closely to her answers. When she spoke, he looked at her with focus, not distraction. One evening, Emma showed him a mood board she was working on for a modern loft apartment. She explained why she chose certain textures and colors. Ryan leaned closer, studying it. "You really think about how people feel in a space, don't you?" he asked. She blinked, surprised. "Yeah, that's the whole point." He smiled. "That's amazing. Most people don't care that deeply." His words warmed her more than she expected. Daniel also noticed the change in the atmosphere. At dinner, conversations became longer. Ryan asked big questions about childhood memories, future plans, regrets. He talked openly about his breakup, about how he realized he had ignored small signs that something was wrong. "I thought loving her was enough," Ryan said one night. "But she said she felt alone even when I was there." Emma felt her heart beat faster at those words. "Alone can happen quietly," she said without thinking. Daniel glanced at her, then back at his plate. As the days passed, Emma found herself looking forward to evenings more than before. Not because she wanted Ryan in a romantic way, but because she felt awake again. She felt heard. One Saturday afternoon, heavy rain trapped them indoors. Daniel fell asleep on the couch after lunch, exhausted from a stressful week. Emma and Ryan sat across from each other in the living room, the sound of rain tapping against the windows. Ryan spoke first. "Do you ever feel like you're living the life you planned, but something inside still feels empty?" Emma hesitated. She could lie, she could give a safe answer. But the quiet, the rain, and the gentle honesty in his voice made her brave. "Yes," she admitted, "sometimes I feel incomplete." Ryan studied her carefully. "That doesn't mean you don't love Daniel." "I do love him," she said quickly. "He's good. He's kind. But sometimes I feel like I'm talking through a wall." Ryan nodded slowly. "I think that's what Claire felt with me." The room grew still. Daniel shifted in his sleep, but did not wake. Emma realized she was revealing more than she ever had to anyone. The truth felt dangerous and freeing at the same time. Over the next week, Daniel began to sense a deeper current under the surface. He saw how Emma's eyes brightened. During conversations with Ryan, he noticed how Ryan leaned in when she spoke. There was no touching, no flirting, no crossing of lines. But there was connection. One night, Daniel stood in the hallway outside the guest room and heard them laughing softly over an old childhood memory. His chest tightened, not with anger, but with fear. He remembered when Emma used to laugh like that with him. Later, when Ryan left to meet an old friend for drinks, Daniel found Emma in the kitchen. "Are you unhappy?" he asked quietly. She froze, holding a glass in her hand. "With me," he added. She set the glass down carefully. Her mind raced. She did not want to hurt him. She did not want to lie. "I'm not unhappy with you," she said slowly. "I just feel like something's missing because of Ryan." His voice stayed calm, but his eyes were searching. She swallowed. "Ryan didn't create the feeling. He just made me notice it." Daniel's jaw tightened. The truth was painful, but it was clear. Emma stepped closer. "I don't want someone else, Daniel. I want more from us." The words hung in the air. Between them, Daniel felt a wave of guilt crash over him. He had been proud of being stable, reliable, secure. But maybe in becoming secure, he had stopped being present. He looked at his wife and saw the quiet ache in her expression. He realized he had noticed her fading for months, but ignored it, hoping it would fix itself. Now someone else was helping her feel alive again. The realization scared him deeply. That night, Emma lay awake in bed. Daniel's breathing was steady beside her, but she knew he was not truly asleep. The silence felt heavy. Filled with thoughts, neither of them dared to speak. Emma stared at the ceiling and felt torn. She loved her husband, she loved the life they built, but she also felt a growing hunger for emotional depth, for passion in conversation, for being fully understood, and she could no longer pretend it wasn't there. Across the hall, Ryan lay, awake too, staring at the guest room ceiling. He felt the tension. He respected his brother deeply and would never intentionally hurt him. But he also could not ignore the connection he felt with Emma. It was gentle but real, built on shared honesty and vulnerability. He knew lines had not been crossed, but emotions were moving closer to the edge. The next morning, the house felt different. Daniel watched Emma as she poured coffee. Ryan sensed the shift immediately. No one mentioned the late-night conversation, but the truth hovered in every glance. Daniel understood something important in that moment. Emma did not need another man. She needed to feel alive in her marriage. And if he did nothing, he might lose her, not to Ryan, but to the quiet emptiness that had slowly grown between them. As Emma left for work that day, she paused at the door and looked back at both brothers. Her heart felt heavy and hopeful at the same time. She knew one thing clearly. Now she needed more than just one kind of love. And somehow both men already knew it too. Emma returned home that evening feeling a strange mix of relief and nervous energy. The sky was dark, the clouds hanging low over Portland, but the house felt warmer than usual. Daniel was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of soup, and the soft hum of cooking filled the room. Ryan was in the living room, reading a book, though he occasionally glanced at Emma with a quiet curiosity that made her heart skip. The tension from last week, the unspoken truths, the heavy confessions hadn't gone away, but it had shifted. It was no longer just a quiet ache. It was a moment pregnant with possibility. Daniel caught her eye and nodded, a small, almost imperceptible gesture that said more than words could. He wasn't angry, he wasn't jealous, he was simply aware. And in that awareness, Emma felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She had feared confrontation, the tearing apart of the safe life they had built. But instead, she found honesty, awkward but real. That evening, over soup and bread, Emma noticed the subtle changes in the household. Daniel asked her detailed questions about her design work, questions that required more than yes or no answers. He wanted stories, her thoughts, her feelings, and he listened. Not with polite nods, not with distracted eyes, but fully. His hand occasionally brushed hers across the table, a deliberate, gentle touch that reminded her of the early days of their marriage. And Ryan, for his part, maintained his usual warmth, but gave space where needed, never overstepping, never pushing. He was a mirror of what Emma had been missing. A replacement, but a reflection. As the days passed, conversations grew longer, laughter more frequent, and the home slowly filled with the sound of living again. Emma began to recognize the differences between Ryan and Daniel not as competitors, but as two facets of her emotional world. Ryan brought energy, curiosity, and light. Daniel brought depth, stability, and history. And she realized that her heart wasn't divided, was awakening. She wasn't craving to love, she was craving completeness. And that completeness could only be shaped with effort, attention, and mutual understanding. One rainy evening, Emma found herself sitting on the porch with Ryan, the raindrops tracing slow paths along the railing. They didn't speak immediately. Silence hung between them, comfortable yet tinged with gravity. Finally, Ryan broke it. "Do you feel better?" he asked softly. "I mean, now that you see him noticing you again?" Emma paused. She had thought about this moment countless times in the last week. "I do," she admitted, "but it's not because of you. You didn't give me something I didn't have. You reminded me of something I was missing." Ryan nodded, understanding. The delicate balance. "I get it," he said quietly. "Oh, it's just part of the mirror." "That's exactly it," Emma said, a small smile forming despite the gravity. You reflected back what I needed to notice." He smiled faintly, eyes kind. "Then I'll leave the rest to him." And leave. He did just a few days later. The morning of his departure, the house felt different again. Quieter, of course, but in a settled, harmonious way. He hugged Emma, firm and respectful. No lingering touches, no awkward pauses. Then he hugged Daniel briefly, and the bond between the three of them shifted once more less a triangle, more a shared understanding. After Ryan left, Emma felt the weight of choice. She returned to Daniel with a clarity she hadn't experienced in years. She no longer wanted excitement or curiosity elsewhere. She wanted effort, attention, depth, engagement from the man she loved, the man who had built the home and life they shared. And Daniel, in turn, understood that the love they had nurtured needed tending. It wasn't just about providing or being present in routine ways. It was about showing up fully every day in small ways that mattered. That evening, as the house settled into quiet, Daniel held Emma's hands, looking into her eyes. "I understand now," he said. "I've taken so much for granted. I don't want to lose the part of you I haven't been paying attention to." Emma felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "I just want to be seen," she said simply. "And you are," he whispered. "You will be every day." For the first time in months, the house felt like home again, not just a shelter, but a living, breathing space filled with love and understanding. Emma knew the journey wasn't over. Emotional connection was a process, a daily commitment. But for the first time, she felt hope that it could be more than routine, could be alive, rich, and deep. As night fell, Emma lay in Daniel's arms, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. The past weeks of tension, discovery, and quiet awakenings settled into her consciousness. Ryan had left, but the lessons lingered. She realized that love wasn't about multiple men or divided attention. It was about attention, curiosity, and willingness to grow together. Ryan had been a catalyst, a spark, but Daniel was the flame she chose to nurture. And as she drifted to sleep, she knew one truth clearly. Love needed honesty, courage, and daily care. It wasn't about chasing something new or exciting, it was about choosing to show up fully and without fear with the person you had built your life with. That realization brought peace, warmth, and a soft, enduring joy she hadn't felt in years. The night was quiet, the house calm, but inside her chest a gentle fire burned, a fire born of understanding, renewal, and a love deep enough to hold everything she had ever longed for.